Designers and Builders, where design meets construction. We explore groundbreaking trends and talk to the pros reshaping our spaces. For your dream home, workspace, or just great design inspiration, subscribe to Designers and Builders.
Hey, welcome to today's brand new episode of Designers and Builders. This is your host, Alyssa Olson, and today's guest is Niki McNeill Brown from McNeill Brown Interior Design. How you doing today, Niki?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate you having a conversation with us.
I'm glad to be talking to you.
Excellent. Love it. And also love your beautiful background behind you. It's crazy shoes.
Thank you. This is my actual living room, so I appreciate that.
Amazing. In your own space that you designed. So I want to kick us off today with your backstory. How'd you find your way to interior design and starting your own practice?
So, funny thing is, I spent the majority of my high school and college years preparing to go to medical school. I was very interested in science, and people around me were like, hey, you should be a doctor. And I jumped onto that, and I was able to take some medical terminology coursework in high school, and then in college, fo- followed up with the pre-med precursors, the pre-med coursework, excuse me. And it's been about 3 years doing that and prepared to take the MCAT, took the MCAT. And when I got ready to apply to medical school, I was like, I don't want to do this. I had seen enough of the actual job. You know, you have an idea what you think you want to do, but I was fortunate enough to do internships and shadow different students as well as professionals and realize that was not what I wanted to do. And so I spent some time thinking about things that I actually would want to do and discovered that interior design was actually an industry. I did not know that growing up and going into college. I knew that decorating was a thing, but I did not know that interior design was a thing. And I think it correlated with my interest because I'd always been an artist. I always loved making beautiful things. But I also, like I said, had that scientific mind and the idea of assessing a space, diagnosing a space, finding solutions. That's what interior design is. And so when I found out that that was something that I could do in an architecture environment or, you know, even just providing that service to private homeowners, I was like, hey, I think I want to do this thing. And so I was also fortunate enough that the city that I am from has a wonderful school, Meredith College. It's a small all-girls school that had a phenomenal accredited interior design program. And so I, to my parents' shock, was like, hey, I'm not going to medical school. I'm going to go check out this interior design thing. And so that's how I got to it. I realized that it was an actual job and that it was something that correlated with my interest and my skills and jumped into school. And that was the beginning.
Wow. Do you feel like because I've known some other pre-med design people that have found their way to design as well. Aside from kind of the scientific and thought processes, are there other influences from your educational background that you find you use today that other people might not see?
Yes. So going back to my first degree, my major was psychology. And the reason why I was majoring in psychology was because at the time, I thought I wanted to do adult health care, geriatrics, like as people age and how your brain functions is so much a part of that. And so psychology was kind of where my focus was. And that absolutely impacts interior design, like the psychology of space, how we perceive it, how we interact with it, how it impacts our mood, our emotions. And so, yes, my first degree, I definitely still lean on, even though it's not technically interior design.
Incredible. I love that. Just, everyone always has a different background and story. And so you've taken and made the most of it and translated that into design.
Yeah, it's so interesting now in 2025. Well, it's really started probably 2 years ago, 2023. I started hearing more about the idea of neurodivergent and how that impacts design. And I'm like, yes, finally they're connecting these because they've always been connected, but people are talking about it now. It's not just, the ADA requirements or, the sustainability, but it's also how do these spaces impact how our brains function, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, it is. Would you say I guess the word I usually use is universal design, like you're always designing for everybody, but for you, it's often probably more specific. But do you
Yeah.
feel like that's a principle that is just an underlying base in your design process?
Yes, I am also always thinking of how can this space accommodate the most variety of people. I think when you come to that, when you come to a project with that perspective, it opens your mind past just the aesthetics and like the particular person who's hiring you because they have their program of what they want to see achieved. But I feel like our job as professionals is to take them beyond what their mind can conceive and think of all the other implications of the design that you're doing.
So I'm always curious, as someone who also works with a range of clients, is that is that just part of your kind of initial conversations? Like you just kind of find your way through those concepts and a little bit of maybe client education, or how do you navigate that?
Yeah, so depending on the type of project, whether it's a commercial project or a residential project, either one, I'm doing an initial consultation. And during that consultation, that's where I'm really listening and also challenging the idea of what they have for that space. And it's amazing to see the things that they think are wrong, what they think are their pain points. And then when you're in their space and you're listening to them, things that are revealed to you that they haven't been purview to, even though they're living in the space or they're using the space. And so again, I think that's that scientific diagnostic mind of mine that's like, let me look beyond the black and white. Let's see what's in this gray area and help them find solutions there too.
Yeah, it's also the can't see the forest through the trees, right? Like you got to be the outsider
Mm-hmm.
having that new perspective.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So something when I was kind of cruising through your website, I noticed right on your splash page it says, "You dream it, we design it," and
Mhm.
totally love that. That just feels. I feel like I like trust you already. You know.
Yay.
So are there some like recent dreams that clients have had, and like I'm curious how your designs have responded to and reflected those.
I have a great story for this. So I was blessed to work on a project for a woman who had a dream to create a assembly space. She didn't want to call it a specific, coffee shop, cafe, bar. She wanted it to be a multi-purpose space. And she named it after her great aunt who she grew up calling Miss Elaine. And so that name translates to Missy Lane's assembly room. So MISSY capital LANE apostrophe S, Missy Lane's assembly room. So the fun thing about this project was it was the first floor of a historic building, which used to be a newspaper, but someone purchased the building and is leasing out different spaces. So we had a really rough start. Like the building itself was not something that was, ready to be inhabited. It had to have a lot of rehab before we could even do the design. But because the owner had this vision, she had this dream of what it was going to be. I was able to sit down with her and show her colors and textures and things. And it was literally like her dream coming to life. She looked at things and said, yes, that's exactly what I want. Or, we worked on some custom wallpaper. So we had a graphic designer design the layout of it. And then I helped with the color selections on that. And then from that, coordinating the curtains to work well with that new wallpaper. It was literally like the pieces of things that she had seen in her mind kind of come into reality. So I think that's a great example of that tagline of like she had this grand vision and she needed someone to put the pieces together to make it happen.
Yeah, kind of the choreographer that also makes it beautiful and very personal at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's something that comes up a lot is like personal stories of people and that's kind of part of what you work with?
I do, especially with those type projects where it's a specific demographic that you're trying to serve. Presently, we are working on more multifamily, so apartment complexes. And so that is fun because we have to think about the target demographic that they want to attract and retain. So
Yeah.
there's two sides to that. Visually, what is going to catch their eye and bring them in and make them have an identity there? Say, yes, this is the home I want to have, but also what amenities are we going to include to make them want to stay there? Make them feel comfortable, make them want to have people over and be proud to call it home. So yeah, there's two sides to creating the vision and then also making the vision livable for the client.
Yeah. I find that tricky if you sometimes you don't know who's gonna occupy it.
hmm
So I guess what are some of the amenities that you would offer or suggest go in a space?
Specifically for apartments.
Apartments or any other of your project typologies.
Yeah. So I'll keep going with the apartments. I think that post COVID, for sure, now people are wanting another third place. There's so many people that work from home now, or they are working in the office many hours and then they come home, but they don't want to just stay in their small apartment. So I think now creating that third place, somewhere that they can go that is still familiar, still is somewhat homey, but is not their home. I think that's something that people are looking for. And again, I'm thinking about apartment complexes, but I also see that in residences. So whereas if you own a home and you think about, you know, the common 3 bedrooms and 2 bathroom home, now I'm seeing there's more third places within that home, whether it be a finished room over the garage or, a home office space, a dedicated kids playroom, and not just the kids have their own room. So that's what I'm seeing a trend. And like, it's not just the useful spaces, but places where you can just relax and do whatever you want.
Yeah, kind of be separated from those responsibilities of both and just be able to relax.
Mhm, mhm.
Very cool. And then so you do the multifamily residential commercial spaces as well?
Yeah. So I have not done a ton of commercial. That one project that I was speaking of, Missy Lane, that was um, probably the biggest project that I've done commercial wise. But I enjoy them because again, it's very it's personal for the owner of the project, but then so many people get to experience your space. It's cool. I was sitting in that space shortly after they opened. I went and just had a coffee and was sitting in, and I saw a gentleman come in and he ordered his drink at the coffee bar, sat for a little bit to sip it, left, and he came back in with his camera. He said, "Oh man, I forgot to get a picture of these bar stools. They're amazing." And I was sitting there like, that is the best compliment you can get as a designer, for someone to come back and say, "I forgot to get a picture of these because I love them so much." So that's the best feeling. I'll forget. I'll never.
Yeah, having that feedback come full circle and someone's just
Mhm.
happy with it. So how do you connect with your clients? Do you have repeat clients, a lot of new ones? How does that work for you?
So I would say 75% of my clients have been word of mouth, whether that be other industry professionals or it be other clients or just people that know me in the area who have referred me. I also would say that last 25% has been strategic online marketing, um, using my website SEO. I tried a little bit of ads last year, but I tried it without being well informed. I didn't have a true strategy. I was just testing it out and it didn't work. It didn't get me clients, but it definitely gave me visibility. People were saying, "Man, I'm seeing you everywhere." So I think that answers your question. That's really the two ways. Also, I forgot I did a trade show this year. That was the first for me. I did a trade show booth and just to get brand awareness. I didn't get a contract out of it, but being able to be in position for 5,000 people gives you a good, you know, word of mouth starter, we'll say.
Yeah, that's a really, really good idea for visibility and also just connecting with community members.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you based out of North Carolina? Is that right?
Yep, I'm based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, which is growing so fast, and it's exciting, but it's also a little bit bittersweet being that I was born and raised here, and sometimes I go to parts of the city and I'm lost. Like, I don't know where it is because they're changing so much.
Yeah, that's kind of fun though. It's like a new place, even though it's home.
It is. That's why I say it's bittersweet. Like, there's a little bitterness because 'cause you're like, "Oh, man, I remember what this used to be, and it's not anymore." But it's sweet, and it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to learning the city through the eyes of the developers that are making it different, and also I have a 4-year-old, and she'll grow up hopefully in the city and have a completely different experience, so it'll be fun.
Yeah. And then you can be that person. Let me tell you about back when.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. I'm already starting to do that, and I have to catch myself because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, I sound like a old lady."
Yeah. Are most of your projects also in Raleigh?
In the Raleigh area, so with the growth, suburb, uh, circle is growing, right? So what used to be so far from the city center now is not because they've built a whole new beltway around, and so that makes the suburbs more accessible. But within about a 30-45 minute range from the city center is where we're based.
Got it. And then I guess, are there things I'm curious about your design inspiration, either in Raleigh or outside, like where do you find your inspiration?
Yeah. So I never take for granted how much nature there is in our area. Like when you drive around, there's an abundance of trees. There's an abundance of, still the farming industry. You can drive down a street and you have a strawberry patch, and then they'll flip it to be, flowers. Once those are gone, beautiful, natural perennial flowers and trees. I have a huge crepe myrtle outside of my window. You can't see that right now is the brightest pink, and it's just you walk outside and that's where I get my inspiration a lot of times. And then we also have some really cool public arts as well as the North Carolina Museum of Art is incredible just to even just on the grounds, not even going inside. They have a beautiful permanent installation outside. So art and nature, those are my two.
I love it. Do you feel like you try to bring those influences into the inside when you can?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I always tell people my design aesthetic is a colorful mix of old and new. And the color for me comes from nature. Like I said, I think there's a trend that luxury means all neutrals and not a lot of color. But I feel like in nature, the most beautiful, stunning things are colorful. And so I try to bring that into the home.
Yeah, there is really no neutral in nature when you really look at it.
No, I mean, if you want to live in a desert,
Yeah, even that, I mean, some like the sunset colors and
yeah, yeah, that's as close as you'll get, but it's still not all neutral all the time.
yeah. So speaking of trends, I'm curious your take on either design industry trends or on the business side. Are there any that you've been seeing lately that you either incorporate or definitely don't incorporate?
On the design business side, let me see. A trend that I've been seeing that I have incorporated myself is when we are working with clients, making sure that they have the total anticipated investment when you start the project. And this might not be a trend. This is just a new thing that I've incorporated because as my project budgets have grown, I've realized that clients need to understand that when they sign on to go through the design process, which is not going to be short, there's no way to make it short. They need to already have the funds available. We don't want to prepare this whole design plan and, get contractors involved and quotes in their hands and then them realize I actually don't have the funds to pay for this. So that's something that I implemented in my business at the end of last year. And it's been wonderful. It makes it so much more seamless. And I feel like the clients are actually happier because they are not worried about the money once the project gets started. There is that tension point of when you get started and talking about the money, but once they are confident, like, okay, this is what it's going to cost, I'm not going to have to look at it again. It's a smooth sail from there.
Yeah, I feel like also, especially right now, just with prices going up and the economy's been just evolving, it's really hard because if you get a quote today, it might be double tomorrow.
Hmm.
And so almost being able to lock it in and really anticipate that and just go for what they want right from the jump.
And I position it to my clients of like allowing me have full design capabilities without worrying, is this person going to be able to afford what I design, yields the best design. If I'm watching my total of like, oh my gosh, I can't add another thing because they've only, told me they can spend this much, it's not going to come out as beautifully as it could. And so just talking to clients through that, and it makes them excited. Like, okay, I've given her as much as I can, and she's going to do the best she can. It's a collaboration at that point.
And then are there other things that you see? Obviously, budget is, it could be a pain point, but it seems like you found a way to make that just a part of it is part of
Culture.
the process. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's not it. Are there other things like maybe like sustainability or other kind of client education relationship things that you come across often?
Yes. One thing that I'm realizing is that just like fast fashion has impacted the clothing industry, I feel like it's bleeding into furniture a little bit. And people don't realize that when you are buying furniture, buy the best you can afford. I would do less items, but the highest quality that you can afford up
Mhm.
front so that you're not having to replace these things or having issues with these things later. And I think that's one of the advantages of working with an interior designer is they can point you towards what is actually quality versus what's not. Because there's a lot of noise out here of different people advertising and promising certain things that may not necessarily be in line with the client's goals.
That's interesting. Do you have, because like I know like the firm that I work for, we have a red list, green list, and if
Mhm.
something's on the red list, we will not go there, even if it's a shade of yellow on the way. Is that also kind of the same with you? You already have this kind of realm of what you really like to work with.
Yes, yes. And again, part of our job is to select things from vendors that we have vetted, whether it be, visiting their showrooms or working with the rep directly to find out about availability and the construction of these things. And we have found some that, like you said, would be on the red list, like not because they're necessarily a bad company or their intentions are bad, but if you can't deliver the experience that we want for our clients, then you kinda have to stay away.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm also curious. So, I'm a landscape architect and a furniture builder, and there's always divide between ordering site furnishings, often from across the world. So you're dealing with shipping items, and if you have to replace something, that can
Mhm.
be a challenge. Versus, I really like to just design it and sometimes just also just build it myself, so I can trust the quality.
Yes.
Is that a path you ever pursue? Is just like find someone to just do these pieces in a custom way for the client?
Yes, every opportunity that I can, I go custom. I push that as much as I can because, like you said, you know the craftsmanship, you know the quality of the materials, and you're gonna get exactly what you design, as opposed to hoping that it fits your design and maybe tweaking it if you wanted to. When you go custom, you're partnering with a skilled tradesperson, and you're also there's a level of quality control on the materials as well.
Yeah, I agree. And the craftsmanship, and it's just, I believe that everyone should have access to beautiful, well crafted things. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's the same with you. Like the more that we have that, it just makes our lives better.
Yep. And I like I said, I have to educate the clients up front when they are coming into a project and they only want to spend X amount of dollars. And I kind of sell them on the fact that their experience with what they purchased at that price point is not going to be the experience that they're looking for. So they have to take them out of the dollars and into the actual feeling and the experience that they're going to have.
Yeah, kind of value over dollars.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. I think about that a lot too. It's, look, going for what they're actually really going for.
Mhm.
So other things that you find like you struggle with or are lacking or would help you in your daily practice or expand your own design capacity?
Right now, I'm actually hiring another designer because I am at that tipping point of like the chicken or the egg. I know that the pipeline is going to be really full really soon, and so I wanted to have someone that can take on the work with me, delegate the work to. Um, but also with that person, I feel like we need like a dedicated customer success or client success person that can just be that point of contact when something goes wrong with a project, or not even things that go wrong, but just developments in the project that need addressing. And if a client just wants to talk to you about whatever they have going on so that you can focus on the actual design development.
And is it currently are you doing most things solo and collaborating as needed? Is that the workflow?
Yes. So I have a virtual assistant that helps with some of the client communication. And as far as like some of the different aspects of the design development, the drafting, the visuals that we create, I do outsource that currently. But the meat of the design, making selections, making sure that they are in line with what the vision of the whole project is, I'm doing all that myself.
Love that. And how about AI? Have you incorporated that in any of your work yet?
That is so funny that you asked that because I have been exploring it. The number one thing that I definitely use is I use a app called Canvas to scan spaces and measure them. That has been incredible because I used to hand measure and write the measurements and then put that into whatever software that whether it be CAD or SketchUp to create our next step of modeling. And this app allows me to walk in, literally scan the walls, and it pops out whatever format I want. And so that has been amazing. I was shocked to see how accurate it was, and efficient it was. And so that's definitely something that is going to be a SOP in my company going forward, is to use that. And then yesterday I explored more, not my first time, but explored more using Chat GPT image creator to
Mhm.
create visuals. And I was shocked. I was shocked by what it put out. It's definitely not going to replace the interior designer's job, but it will definitely enhance the visuals that you're creating for your client, because I didn't even give as much detail as I wanted to or could to this one prompt, and it spit out a editorial photography style image pretty close to what I asked for. And so I feel like moving forward, the more I talk to it and learn how to prompt it to create the images that I want, I'll be able to incorporate that in my design development and presentations for clients.
And then that'll also save you a lot of time, right? Because you're not having to generate all these graphics on your own and
Time and just create a more sense of authority and understanding for the client. You know, it's an easier sale when you're showing them a photo that is photorealistic of what their space will look like than when you are putting together, physical samples with 2D and maybe some 3D, but taking it that next level that AI can is pretty incredible.
yeah, I agree. I've also found it's hard because you're kind of collaging the idea together through the materials, and oftentimes clients don't always know how to read the 2D drawings. So
They
seeing
can.
it through, like, they can imagine themselves in the space.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pretty good with SketchUp, and I can use V-Ray and different, programs to make the SketchUp models a little bit more photorealistic, but I was honestly shocked by the quality that the ChatGPT image creator put out, and I maybe spent 10 minutes. I didn't even spend that long to generate it. So I'm excited to see how I can use that in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with renderings. It's like you could easily spend an entire work week on a rendering,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then if they don't like it, then it's a do-over, and it's like, "Oh, no."
Right.
Okay, that's great. It's a great application of AI in design, so thanks for Thanks for sharing that. So I guess, yeah, is there any advice, just giving your range and experience of work, any advice you have for others or even a younger version of yourself?
I would say I can't really speak to what people are doing in school now because I've been out of school for a long time. But I know that even when I was in school, the curriculum was based off of historical practices, not what was current. So I would tell anyone that's in school right now, don't wait for your schooling to teach you what you will need to know right now. I haven't been in touch with too many current students. I've talked to one this semester, but not more than that one. And I don't know if they're introducing the tools that AI has for the different project management softwares, like for business, that are out there right now. I would definitely encourage people that are wanting to get into this industry, whether it be in architecture or interior design, just spend time finding out what's current and what can I learn on my own so that I can be an asset to whoever I work with.
So actually, I did have a recent experience with some interior design students. Something that I noticed is I feel like with HGTV, and I know you have a little history with that, but I feel like that is the dream for some people, is like
Mm-hmm.
whatever that means. And so I guess just a couple questions I have is, one is like, how did that happen for you? I know it was was it the Design Wars? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So I started my career in Atlanta. I was living in Atlanta and I was working in any capacity that I could to get involved in the interior design industry. To be honest, I think the Design Wars opportunity came to me because and I was an early blogger. I'm dating myself. This is like 2007 when I started my blog. And back then, if you were putting yourself out there online, there was less noise to distract you from people who were looking for talent. So I remember getting the casting notification for Design Wars, and I did the casting call for it, um, thinking, okay, this could be cool. I was not working full time as an interior designer. I had not even finished my degree yet. But I was just like, hey, this sounds like a cool thing to do. And it was a kind of kismet thing. It was the fact that I was in Atlanta. It was the fact that I wasn't, in a job that I couldn't take the time off to do this opportunity. And so I jumped on it and it was fun. I learned a lot. And that kind of put me on the radar of other opportunities. And that's probably another advice I would give to a younger person. It's like, if there's an opportunity and you can do it and it's yes, there's some benefit to you, take it because you don't know what it will lead to and kind of what circle it puts you in, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's like you never know. It's one data point on a longer trajectory of a journey. You don't know where that's going, but it is helping you pave that path.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much for taking the time today. Definitely want everyone to check out all of your socials, your website, Niki McNeill Brown. So thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Niki. Okay, and then we'll stay.